Some of my favorite videos on YouTube are the ones where people talk about media that scared them as kids, whether it was the Wheelers from Return to Oz, Large Marge, or maybe even a certain walrus. I find this topic fascinating. And I know I'm a little late to the party here. Adam over at YourMovieSucks kicked off this trend over 6 years ago now, but I didn't have a YouTube channel then, so I'm doing it now. I'll mostly be talking about movies and TV shows this time, but I may do a part 2 someday discussing books and games that scared me as well. Now, these aren't really in any particular order, but the final entry is definitely the one that scared me the most. So without further ado, let's get started.
It's a beautiful day in this neighborhood, a beautiful day for a neighbor.
Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood was never my favorite show growing up, but we didn't have cable, so my choices were PBS, boring talk shows, or even more boring soap operas. At least Mr. Rogers went on a field trip every once in a while. Once he got home from those field trips, though, he would take the trolley to the neighborhood of make-believe, and that is where we will meet our first entry.
Is this back far enough?
That's far enough, and be sure to hold the camera steady.
I will.
Okay?
Yeah. Now, I look in here.
That's right.
Yo,
Now push this
what the
back.
hell is
That's right.
that thing?
Here it goes.
Yo, who is that?
Okay.
Hey,
that's
not-
nice.
Hey.
That's a nice
It
picture.
really is. Wait a minute. Who's that in the background?
What? That's Lady Elaine Fairchild. Who's that?
Lady Elaine Fairchild, the most horrifying puppet ever created. I will take a ventriloquist dummy any day over Lady Elaine. Those unblinking eyes, the red swollen cheeks and nose, the creepy voice, who I'm just now realizing is Mr. Rogers. She's so unsettling. I can't be the only kid who was afraid of her, right? Right?
Of course.
Ugh, can you just put her away, please? Thank you. Moving on.
Buttercup was raised on a small farm in the country of Florida.
Now, I know what you must be thinking. Macy, Princess Bride is a fun movie. What could have possibly scared you in Princess Bride? Maybe the pit of despair and the life-sucking torture machine? The fire swamp flame geysers? The lightning sand?
What about the ROUSs?
Rodents of unusual size?
Jesus, Grandpa, what did you read me this thing for?
No, friends, the thing that gave me nightmares was Miracle Max.
And thank you so much for bringing up such a painful subject.
Now, if you're hoping for some detailed explanation as to why he scared me, I'm sorry, I don't have one. I mean, it's Billy Crystal. He's Mike Wazowski, for crying out loud. I don't know. But based on a few different entries in this video, I think the best explanation I have is...
Old people are scary.
As a kid, I was even uncomfortable visiting my great-grandma in the nursing home. For some reason, old people just gave me the heebie-jeebies when I was little. We're gonna take a little break from talking about the elderly, but there are 1 or 2 more entries later on. Sorry.
Have fun storming the castle!
I adore 80s and 90s Tim Burton. Growing up, I would ask to watch The Nightmare Before Christmas on a daily basis. For some reason, my aunt got a little tired of it and wanted to introduce me to another spooky movie so we could take a little break from Nightmare. That movie was Beetlejuice. I fell in love with it right away. I loved the colors, I thought Lydia was the coolest, Beetlejuice was funny and eccentric. It was immediately added to the small stack of tapes that never left the TV stand. However, there was one scene that I would always just so happen to leave the room during. The Beetlejuice snake. I have never been a fan of snakes to begin with, but that stop motion movement along with the wild eyes and the sharp teeth was nightmare fuel for me. I would always imagine that I would see this thing as I rounded my aunt's corner staircase at night. Now I think it's a great design and use of stop motion, but as a kid, it sent me running down the hallway.
Beetlejuice, Beetlejuice, Beetlejuice! Oh no!
As a kid, my number one all-time biggest fear was sharks. So it was a little strange just how obsessed I was with Finding Nemo when it came out. To this day, I have it mostly memorized. I'm no longer afraid of sharks to the degree I was growing up. I'm sure my heart would still skip a few beats if I saw one while swimming, but as I've learned more about them, that fear has turned into a deep love and respect for them. I like to think Bruce had a hand, or should I say a fin, in that.
Something's wrong with you.
Yes, the chase scene with Bruce was scary, but it had comic relief, which helped to ease the tension.
Who is it? Sorry, you'll have to come back later. We're trying to escape.
Same with the anglerfish scene. It was pretty scary, but it still had comic relief.
If you could just bring a little closer, I kind of need the light. That's great. Keep it right there.
But the scene that traumatized me the most
Where did everybody go?
was the opening with the barracuda. He watches from a distance, floating in the shadows and ready to strike. Unlike the other scenes, this is serious. There is no comic relief. And unlike the other scenes, not everyone gets away. Our characters manage to evade Bruce and the anglerfish, but the barracuda is the only one who is successful, and there are almost no survivors.
Hey, DW! Hey!
Circling back to PBS for a second, my favorite show on the channel was definitely Arthur. But there are two episodes that I remember being a little freaked out by. The first one was a cold open for an episode where they try to solve a mystery, but the animation was kind of unsettling and dark.
Lakewood Elementary. Peaceful. Safe. Happy. Carefree. Try again.
I didn't learn until just a few years ago that this is an almost shot-for-shot parody of the title sequence for an anthology show called Mystery. The reason it's so unsettling and dark is because the artwork was done by Edward Gorey, an artist well known for his usually morbid and surreal illustrations. I'm glad I only saw the watered-down Arthur version as a kid, because even today the actual animation kinda gives me the creeps. The second Arthur episode is the one where Sue Ellen hears a weird sound while walking through the woods, and she starts thinking about all the different scary creatures that could be making the noise. This is the first time I had ever heard of Baba Yaga, Kappas, or Banshees. The Kappa and the Banshee weren't so bad, but I was afraid for a while that Baba Yaga might come out of the woods behind our house at night. The Many Adventures of Winnie the Pooh. Specifically, I was afraid of Winnie the Pooh and the Blustery Day.
Turned into a blustery night. To Pooh, it was a very anxious sort of night, filled with anxious sorts of noises.
I grew up out in the country, so I know how it feels to be alone in a dark house at night, with the wind outside causing all sorts of new and strange noises.
Is that you, Piglet? Well, tell me about it tomorrow, Eeyore. Hello out there.
I always had a sense of dread watching this scene because I knew what was coming next.
Pooh fell fast asleep and began to dream.
A ghostly, out-of-body Pooh Bear drifting off to be tormented by heffalumps and woozles. Tigger's spooky, disembodied voice. This scene was scarier to me than I think Pink Elephant's ever was. I even had one of those storybook cassette tapes that told this story, and I had to make sure that it wasn't the tape my parents played at bedtime, or I wouldn't be able to sleep at all. Jerry's Game was a Pixar short that was paired with the release of A Bug's Life. This was the first Pixar project to feature a human as the main character. Sure, they had animated Andy and a few other humans in Toy Story, but they were secondary to the toys and they aren't on screen very much. While Jerry is a step forward in computer animation, he still really hit that Uncanny Valley vibe for me, especially Glasses Jerry. Big, wide eyes have always been very unsettling to me, and we're actually going to get deeper into that in just a minute. But No Glasses Jerry was way worse. His maniacal laughter and unpredictable behavior made me very uncomfortable and nervous, and I wasn't sure what he was planning to do next at any given time. Also, as we've previously discussed in this video,
people are scary.
So a minute ago, I mentioned that I was unsettled by big, wide eyes, especially in extreme close-ups. This is going to be a bit of a rapid-fire honorable mention category before we get to our final entry. Now, when someone says Disney eyes, you probably think about sweet, curious puppy dog eyes, or big, beautiful princess eyes. But that's not what I mean in this case. Disney, especially classic Disney, would often do these intense close-ups on eyes showing negative emotions like fear, anger, or insanity. So rather than spend half of this video just mentioning all of the Disney eyes that scared me, I'm just going to show you a quick little montage. Enjoy.
Perfect disguise.
Imagine, you're walking through your house at night. Maybe you've just turned off all the lights and you're heading up the stairs to go to bed. Maybe you're walking down the dark hallway to get a drink of water. Or you're just laying in bed trying to fall asleep. You hear an unfamiliar noise and your mind starts to form a picture of the scariest thing it could be. Maybe for you that's a zombie. Or a vampire. Or a knife-wielding psycho. For me, it's a ghost. But not just any ghost. Mickey's Christmas Carol was my introduction to the Charles Dickens story. I fell in love with it immediately and have seen countless film and TV versions of it since. I have a few copies of the book, including one that I was very lucky to find at an antique store that shows Dickens' original handwritten manuscript. I even made a Christmas decoration for my house last winter based on Scrooge's counting house window. It's my favorite Christmas story and also the scariest ghost story I've ever heard. Now in this version, Jacob is played by Goofy, the least terrifying choice. However, the atmosphere they created makes it foreboding all the same. I heard that voice in my dreams. I would run up the stairs at night worried that Ghost Goofy would be right behind me. Now today, I think Goofy's interpretation of the original dialogue is hilarious, and he doesn't scare me anymore.
I'm forced to carry these heavy chains through eternity. Maybe even longer. You will be visited by 3 spirits.
But he was the origin point of a specific fear of mine that persists to this day. I was going to show you a few other versions that still scare me as an adult, but I don't really feel like having nightmares tonight. Hey everyone, if you made it to the end of the video, just want to say a massive thank you for hanging out with me while I unpacked my childhood trauma. Did any of these things scare you growing up? Let me know in the comments down below. Also, if you'd be at all interested in me doing a part 2 where I talk about books or games that scared me, let me know. I'd be more than willing to do this again. I had a lot of fun making this one. I plan to have more content coming up here real soon, so if you want to subscribe so you don't miss that, I'm probably mostly going to be talking about old TV shows and movies that interest me, but we'll see where things go. If there's anything anyone else wants me to talk about, just let me know. Again, thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.